Good morning, committee, and welcome to any member of the public joining on the 9th of September 2021 meeting of the Western and Southern Area Planning Committee, which is one of the three area-based planning committees of the Dorset Council. Our area of remit covers the previous Weymouth and Portland Borough Council and most of the previous West Dorset District Council areas. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the council has had to put in place measures to enable the council's decision-making process to continue whilst keeping safe members of the public, councillors and council staff in accordance with the government's guidance on social distancing. As the regulations allowing decisions to be made at committee meetings from remote locations have now expired, the council has decided that the committee will continue to meet remotely and make a minded to resolution with an officer delegated to make the formal decision. The officer will make their decision immediately after the committee has voted on each item and will give reasons if their decision differs from the minded to resolution. Therefore, this meeting is being live streamed to the public, and a copy of the recording will be available on the council website following the meeting. Members of the public are invited to make written representations, provided they are submitted to Democratic Services by 8:30 a.m. no later than 2 working days before the meeting. These representations will take the form of written statements of no more than 450 words, with no attachments, and will be read out at the committee meeting by our administration assistant. For the benefit of the public, my name is Councillor David Shortell, and I'm chairman of the Area Planning Committee, and my vice chairman is Councillor Bill Pipe. Can you hear me, Bill? I'll come back to you, Bill, later. I now introduce other members of the committee. Councillor Dave Bolwell. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Chairman. I'm present.
Good. Councillor Kelvin Clayton. Good morning, Kelvin.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, all.
Okay. Councillor Susan Cocking. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone else.
Good morning, Susan. Councillor Jean Dunseth. Good morning, Jean.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning, Jean. Councillor Nick Ireland. Good morning, Nick.
Morning, Chairman.
Good morning to you. Councillor Paul Kimber.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and everybody.
Good. Councillor Louis O'Leary. Good morning, Louis.
Good morning, Chairman.
Good. Councillor Kate Weller. Councillor Sarah Williams. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Chair.
And Councillor John Worth. For information, officers involved in the meeting include Micah Garrity, who's the head of planning, Anne Collins, area manager for West and South team, Philip Crowther, he's our solicitor, Jenny Williams, technical support, and Denise Hunt, Democratic Services. Good morning to you all. May I advise the committee and members of the public that item 4A on the agenda, WP 1800662 FUL, land off of Verne Common Road and Ventnor Road, Portland, has been deferred to our meeting of Thursday, the 30th of September 2021 for technical reasons. This will not now be determined at this meeting. I will now go into apologies. I have received, I believe, 2 apologies from Councillor Kate Weller and Councillor John Worth. Are there any other apologies received?
I haven't received any other apologies, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Does any member have any declarations of pecuniary or other conflict of interest, bias, or predetermination regarding any item on the agenda? Thank you. I would like to inform the committee and members of the public that because this is an informal meeting of the committee and can only make minded to resolutions, we are unable to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on the 8th of July 2021. This will be done at our next formal meeting. Item 3 on the agenda, public participation. The committee received a number of written representations submitted in accordance with the amended speaking protocol effective from the 20th of July 2020. That is, the first 3 public statements received an objection and the first 3 in support, including the applicant or agent, will be read out by an officer not involved in the application. This number does not include representations received from town and parish councils or by relevant Dorset councillors. The written statements have been circulated to all members of the committee prior to the meeting. Right, we now go on to item 4 on the agenda, and that is planning applications. We now have only one application before us today for consideration, and that is application 4B, which is WP 21-00055 FUL, the Esplanade Row, Weymouth. And that's for the installation of 2 sculptural installations created by 2 different artists, sited at 2 locations in Weymouth. Now, the person presenting this application is Thomas Wild, and I welcome Thomas Wild and introduce him to the committee. Over to you, Thomas.
Thank you, Chairman. If I just share my screen, I will. There we go. Can you see my screen there?
Yes, we can.
The presentation. Excellent. So as the Chairman has explained, the application is for the Esplanade Row, Weymouth, with the description as the installation of 2 sculptural installations created by 2 different artists at 2 locations in Weymouth. Just to provide some context, the applications form part of the Weymouth Public Art Trail, which is a scheme of 6 artworks to be installed at various locations around the town centre. 4 of the 6 pieces are to be installed without requiring planning consent, as they've previously been confirmed as falling within permitted development rights, available to the council, which are under Schedule 2, Part 12, Class A of the General Permitted Development Order, which relates to works by local authorities on their operational land. So this application relates to 2 pieces which are to be installed on the Esplanade. The next slide just provides you an overview of the location of all of the pieces in the public art trail. So the application today relates to the 2 pieces in the northwestern corner here by Raphael Daden and Ben Russell, with the other pieces located at various locations throughout the rest of the town centre. So the first piece we'll speak about is Raphael Daden. The site is located for this piece of work is located immediately to the east of the Jubilee Memorial Clock on the Esplanade, as shown on the location plan here. And if I go to the next slide, this shows the location of the site in some context, with the Jubilee Memorial Clock on the right-hand side of the screen there, and the location of the sculpture on the right. This is a bit more zoomed in. The location is the this plinth in the centre of the, which is flanked by 2 stone public seats. The plinth is to be retained as part of the sculptural installation. As you can see, this is a computer-generated image prepared by the artist of the installation. So it comprises the installation here of a of the artwork on top of the plinth with an inscription below it on the plinth. Just to show you some more technical details of the artwork itself, it will be a 1.1 metre diameter circle of stainless steel and acrylic, the acrylic resin. The resin is shown in the bottom corner here, so it's a translucent resin of various different colours, and there's an inscription in the installation which reads, "Seas are rising, levels are changing, so must we." So and the intention is, as part of all of the installations, that are being put forward as part of the trail is that they relate to the maritime history and relationship of Weymouth with the sea. So that's the first piece of artwork that we're considering today. The second is a piece by an artist called Ben Russel. It's located slightly further to the south. You can see here we have the War Memorial on the Esplanade, and the work is to be sited in a planter which is located immediately to the south of the War Memorial. This photograph shows some context. We have the Jubilee Memorial clock in the background here, the War Memorial, and this is the planter in which the artwork is to be sited.
Apologies, Chairman. Can I just make a point of order, please?
Yes, I was waiting for the presentation to be finished, and I was going to come to you.
Oh, sorry. That was this has it down as Councillor Weller, Sutton, and Heatley's ward, but this is actually in Councillor Orrell's ward. So is that a mistake on some of the documents? Because this is in Melcombe Regis as opposed to Rodwell and White.
Let me get the.
Would that be just the one, Louis, the Ben Russell one, or was that both of them?
This current one, I didn't see Councillor Orrell mentioned in the documentation at the beginning. I just want to make sure that he's obviously had the opportunity. This has gone to him, and there hasn't been an error further down the line. But yeah, it was incorrect in the original document. It said Heatley, Sutton, and Weller. This is their ward.
I'll wait to the end of the presentation. Yeah. Okay, and then I'll defer to verify that point.
Thank you.
And then I will then go to the committee to ask any questions of a technical nature. So, would you like to continue, please, please, Tom?
Yeah. So as we were saying, the installation for the Ben Russell sculpture is in the planter, so it's located at this end of this existing planting area. The actual planter itself is to be retained. So there's an artist's impression provided showing the installation. The sculpture itself comprises 3 pieces of Portland stone, which are to be carved with various corals and species of plants and things that can be found on the seabed in Weymouth Bay, and those are going to be placed as we see from the technical details here. They're about 800mm tall by 600mm across, as I say, carved Portland stone, and then they would be sited on a concrete pad within that planter. Yes, I think that's covered that. So the main issues that have been identified as part of this application are the principle of development, the conservation and heritage impacts, given that the site is located within the town centre conservation area and within the setting of a number of listed buildings, and flood risk, given that the site is located within flood zone 3 relating to tidal flood risk. So in terms of principle, policy EMV 10 of the local plan does provide support for public art, and similarly policy way 1 of the local plan provides general support for measures to support and enhance the character of the area. And it's in this sense, the proposal is considered to relate to the ecological environmental interest of the area, as it clearly relates to the sea and the maritime heritage of Weymouth. In terms of conservation and heritage, the application has been considered by the council's conservation officer, and they have confirmed that there's no harm as a result of the proposals to either the conservation area, any listed buildings, or the World Heritage Site. They've also confirmed that the proposal would, in their view, constitute an enhancement to the visitor experience and streetscape within the area. And finally, on flood risk, the siting of the sculptures would be in flood zone 3 relating to tidal flood risk, but it's been considered that the site, as they relate to landscaping and infrastructure, they are considered to be water compatible development and wouldn't give rise to any additional flood risk or place any members of the public at additional harm from flooding. Therefore, the recommendation in front of you is that the committee be minded to grant planning permission today, and the proposed conditions are for the standard 3-year implementation period for any planning consent and listing the approved plans. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Doris. That's an excellent presentation. And before I go to the committee for any technical questions, I will refer to Anne regarding the query from Louis O'Leary as to exactly who the ward member is. Over to you, Anne.
Thank you, Councillor Shortell. I can't actually see that we notified a ward member, I'm afraid, looking at the file. The only trouble is this is one that's come across in our data transfer, so it might take me another few minutes just to check that I haven't missed something in terms of the data transfer on our system. But it looks like there could be an issue in terms of the correct notification not having been sent, Chair. Can you just bear with me a couple more minutes?
Yes, certainly. Yes, certainly. And whilst Anne is checking that, I will actually go on to the committee to ask if there are any questions of a technical nature for the case officer.
I have one, Chairman, that's Councillor Paul Kimber.
Okay, good. Paul. Welcome, Paul, and over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As I usually ask in most of these questions, is there any concern about long term, and is there a maintenance around especially the one by the clock? Just considering the maintenance, sometimes these installations can go in, and after about a few years they can look that they need a bit of tidying up. So it's just a question around the maintenance, if there is any.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I was going to add to that before I pass that on to Tom. Also, of course, there might be a question of graffiti, etc., which might need cleaning of. But I'll hand that across to Tom. Can you answer that question, please, Thomas?
Yes, Chairman. The works are proposed by the council itself and would form part of the overall streetscape of the Esplanade, so they would fall within the council's usual maintenance and management regimes. I have sought some clarity from the Estates Department in terms of any maintenance regime, but unfortunately haven't had any response to that point as yet. And in terms of graffiti and things, as works of public art, they would be accessible and available for viewing by the public, so they would there is always a level of risk associated with people putting graffiti, as there would be with any public features or infrastructure or buildings for that matter. But I think so the works by the clock, by the Raphael Daden works, it's likely that those are of a form that would be less susceptible to graffiti, just because of the nature of the materials used, while it's potentially the stone carving may be more susceptible. But as I say, that's they're no more or less susceptible than any other form of development or public infrastructure, and that's not really something that we would necessarily take in provide a great deal of be able to give a great deal of weight to in any planning balance.
Okay.
Chair,
does that satisfy your question, Paul?
Yes, Chair. I'm happy that now we've raised it. It'll obviously be noted. The committee's concern. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions of a technical nature, Bill?
None at present, Chairman.
Okay, and then therefore I'll refer back to Anne to see if she's got an answer for us. Over to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it appears that it probably is within the Malcolm Regis ward. Unfortunately, I can't access our mapping system at the moment, and it also appears as though we didn't notify the members upon receipt of the application. All other consultation was carried out correctly. Are you able to advise Phil in terms of whether we should be looking to defer, we should be advising members to defer this?
I'll bring in Phil for any response.
Chairman, I'm not aware of a legal requirement for the local members to be consulted, but it is part of the council's practice, and so it's not really a question for me to advise on, but it may be that the committee felt that it would be beneficial to have the local members' input and have them be consulted, and therefore you might be minded to defer.
Sorry, Chair, would you mind if I just cut in there and added to what Phil was saying? Yeah, I mean, looking at the application and given the fact that we've had no objections and the town council is supportive, one option we might want to consider is whether you minded to approve subject to no new issues arising from the ward member consultations, and subject to us not receiving any. Once we've had that confirmation, we could issue the decision as assuming that there's no problems or difficulties. If we receive an objection or new issues that haven't been considered, we would then take it back to committee for you to make a final decision. And I'm quite happy for us to make that decision in the first instance, subject to consultation with yourself, Chair, if you're happy with that approach.
Well, I'm happy with that, and I was going to look for any debate and also perhaps to have a proposal, and I was going to actually check with the proposer for recommendation as to whether they were willing to accept that additional condition.
Okay. At the moment, Chairman, we've got one non-technical question, Councillor O'Leary, and then I will propose that we move to the recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Right. Okay, I'll go to you first, Louis. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not against new art projects on the seafront or in Weymouth at all. I'm a bit concerned about some of the messaging on this artwork. I think it could be construed as messaging of a political nature, and I think it's out of step with the surrounding area. You've got the war memorial, we've got other things, and I just don't think it's in keeping with the heritage of the Esplanade, and therefore I will be voting against it.
Okay. All right.
Councillor Paul Kimber, Chairman.
Over to back to you, Paul.
Thank you, Chair. I actually take the opposite view to Louis, although I do appreciate his thinking, and thanks for the as an ex member of the services. I don't think there's anything more important at the moment than global warming, and obviously the artwork by the town clerk is going to highlight this, and I actually believe this is so important. And if I can at this stage say I will be giving my support for these two artworks, I think they look tremendous, and it's something that the street works of Weymouth, and I think everybody should be complimented on how it's been done and achieved. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Do we have any other speaker, Bill?
Yes, Chairman, if you'll take Councillor O'Leary again, then we have Councillor Ireland.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I
take Councillor O'Leary first.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. I'm quite concerned. We talked about the issue of maintenance. I'm quite concerned taxpayers are going to have to pay maintenance for what is a overtly or at least sort of insinuated political messaging by that authority. I don't think it's a acceptable use of taxpayer money. I know Weymouth's agreed it, but I think that's another issue as part of this application, and that's another reason why I think it should be refused.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you in a moment, Louis. Anyone else willing to speak, Bill?
Councillor Nick Ireland, Chairman, please.
Oh yes, I beg your pardon. Nick did say he would like to speak. Over to you, Nick.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to support Councillor Kimber's approach, and I don't think it's political. The government's own figures show that Weymouth's going to be underwater, in a century's time. Okay, it's not going to bother us, but we should be highlighting the fact that we need to be doing something. So I will be supporting this.
Okay. Do we have any other speakers before I look for a proposer, Bill?
We have two, Chairman. Philip Crowther.
Okay, and do we have any members of the committee first?
No, Chairman.
Oh, well, I'll go to Philip Crowther then. Over to you, Philip.
Thank you, Chairman, and apologies, my camera's not working. I just wanted to advise members that future maintenance costs aren't a planning consideration. You're looking at whether this is acceptable in planning terms, and the maintenance cost is not a planning issue. Thank you.
And finally, Chairman, Mike Garrity would like to speak.
Mike Garrity. Mike, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I was literally going to echo exactly what Phil Crowther has just said, and equally with the messaging, I think we've got to be careful about deciding what's the appropriate messaging when we're talking about the merits of this in planning terms. We've got to judge the application on its merits, and that's what you're here to basically judge, whether or not you think it's an acceptable proposal on the seafront there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, right. We've got no more speakers, so I'm now looking for a proposer.
I did say earlier, Chairman, I would then move to the recommendation. So I'd like to recommend. We move to the recommendation, please.
Okay, so
as a proposer.
Do we have a seconder?
I'd like to second, please, Chair, Councillor Paul Kimber.
Paul Kimber.
Chair, it's Anne. Can I just be clear if that's an amended recommendation to delegate authority subject to?
I was just going to say that, and
yeah, okay.
Both, Bill and Paul, you're both happy with the additional condition regarding deferral if there's any objection.
Absolutely, Chairman. Paul?
Paul?
No objection, Chair.
Okay, that's right. Is that okay, Anne?
Yes, that's fine, Chair. We can word that accordingly.
Okay, so we've got a proposer and a seconder. Okay, right. Okay, what we'll do now is I will then, before I open the debate to members, may I remind you that to direct any questions to or remarks through the chair, and I will invite members to speak in turn. Requests to speak need to be made via the virtual chat facility. Can I also remind members that the chat facility is for the smooth running of the meeting and must not be used for discussion on the merits of an application. Please keep microphones on mute when not speaking to preserve audio quality. Right, I can now open the debate to members. We've had a debate. We've got a proposer and a seconder. Is there any more deliberation?
Would you like to outline your comment, Councillor O'Leary, in the chat box, or you want to leave it there?
No, I've made my point.
Thank you.
I don't think it's in keeping.
Councillor Cocking, Chairman.
Right. Susan, over to you.
Thank you. I might actually agree with Councillor O'Leary's. I think it's out of keeping with the area's heritage, especially the first one by the Jubilee clock. It looks to me like it's really sort of a big silver disc and actually spoils the Esplanade's view. So I would be voting against it because I think it's out of the area's heritage. The second one I don't have such a problem with, but particularly the first one. So I would not be voting for it.
Okay. Right. Okay.
No others, Chairman.
No others. Now we've got a proposer and a seconder to accept. I will now take the vote by roll call. Right, and I'll start with Councillor Dave Bolwell.
Yes, Chair, minded to support.
Thank you. Councillor Kelvin Clayton.
Yes, Chair, minded to support.
Councillor Susan Cocking.
Against.
Against, thank you. Councillor Jean Dunser.
Minded to support, Chairman.
Thank you. For clarity, Councillor Bill Pike.
Minded to support, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Nick Ireland.
Support.
Thank you. For clarity, Councillor Paul Kimber.
Support, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Louis O'Leary.
Against, Chairman.
Thank you. And Councillor Sarah Williams.
Minded to support, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in support and 2 against. Is that calculated correctly, Anne?
Councillor Shortell, I didn't hear you say your vote.
Very good point. I'm voting in support.
Yes, which would make it 8-2, as you said.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, right, that concludes this one. So what we can do now is we'll actually now ask Mike Garrity to make a formal decision on this minded to a decision by the committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I confirm I've heard the debate and that this application will be determined in line with the committee's minded to decision. So, and just to confirm that is the delegation to allow us the consultation time with the ward member.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Okay, that concludes this particular item. Right, we'll now take item 5 on the agenda, appeals decision. Members, I direct your attention to the notice of appeals and appeals decisions, particularly with regard to material considerations and how it will impact on future deliberations. I understand there's nothing to be brought to this committee for appeals decisions. So I now go on to item 6 on the agenda, urgent items. Now, I've had no prior notification of any item of business which is considered to be urgent pursuant to section 100B 4B of the Local Government Act 1972. That concludes the agenda. And thereby, I thank everyone for attending and for your comments and close the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chairman.